Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel, to the Wonderland. It is coffee time, and today I have for you finally the October wrap up. So I have been very busy in October because I've attended conventions. We even flew to the UK to attend in Birmingham the Destination Star Trek convention. So I've been all over the place, and I really wanted in October to have my Witch-A-Thon. So I've pushed those witch books, and I did get to some of my TBR pile, so I am proud about that, and then added a couple there that were not particularly about the witches but that I still had to read. So in this video I'm quickly going to tell you about the 10 books that I managed to read in the month of October, as well as some of the things that I have been watching that have to do as well with witches. So this is going to be basically a wrap up of all the witch stuff that I have been consuming in the month of October. So I have decided that I'm gonna do now my wrap ups in a way that I'm gonna show you the books from least to most favorite. This is just based on how many stars I gave these books on Goodreads. However, for my channel, because I feel like it's more fitting, we're going to be rating these books in coffee mugs. So instead of stars, we just have coffee mugs. First, let's start with the 10 books that I read on the month of October. And the one that sadly got the lowest rating was The Graces by Laura Eve. And I was very sad that I did not enjoy this book because it's very pretty. And it's about witches, and I thought I was really gonna love it, but it didn't happen. I ended up giving this book 2 coffee mugs because I should have given it a 1 maybe. I don't know. It was just so disappointing, and I had to push myself through the book because the story was just dragging and not really interesting for me, and there were so many things wrong with the plot and everything that I just felt like it was a really big miss for me. I think the concept and the idea of the family of the Graces and, you know, the background of this family and everything was a very interesting approach and a very good idea at the beginning, but I just think the execution failed, at least for me, and I didn't care about the characters at some point anymore. I didn't care if they lived, if they died, and I just wanted to finish the book. Now, this is a first book. I don't know if it's gonna be a duology or a series, but I've already seen the cover of book 2, and the cover is very pretty. But I don't know if I'm gonna put myself through the misery of reading the second part. Next, we have Hocus Pocus and the all-new sequel, and sadly, I only gave this book a 3 coffee mugs rating, and I felt bad because I really enjoy the story and the movie. But for some reason I just was not really invested in the book. So this book is divided in 2 parts. The first part, it's basically the story that we know from the movie from the 90s, and I love that movie, and I thought that it was not well translated into a book. I don't know, for me it was too short, and it was missing a little bit more of charm, a little bit more of excitement, a little bit more of funny parts. So I did not enjoy it as much as I thought I would. And then we have the second part, the sequel, which is basically the whole book, because the first story was very short, and the second story, which is the new one. So hear me out on this one. I enjoyed it because it was very action-packed, and I loved the diversity of the characters that we got. However, and please do not get me wrong, I thought that they were pushing the diversity so hard that you could see that they were trying too hard, and for some reason that took out of the fun for me to read the book. I think the main issue is that most of the people go into this book expecting something like the 90s movie, something similar. Even the new sequel, I was expecting it to be something more similar to the 90s movie, and this might be only my subjective opinion because other people might love this book a lot and love the new sequel so much, but for some reason for me it fell flat. It's kind of the feeling that I had with The Cursed Child, because I went into The Cursed Child like thinking, oh my god, Harry Potter, the characters again, you know, I need to revive it, and then it was just not good enough. And I think this is what happened with this book for me, and I ended up giving it 3 coffee mugs because I still enjoyed to revisit the story of the first movie, even though they made it really short here, and most of the book is based on the second and new sequel. Another book that got a rating of 3 coffee mugs, and then I thought actually I was gonna give it a 5-star, but it didn't make it. That was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. Now, this book is one of those that when you start it, you love it, you love it, you love it, and then it comes nearly to the end, and you're like, fuck, no, I don't like it so much anymore. So that is what happened to me with this one. It was like a 5-star, 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 4-3. So I ended up giving it 3. We follow the story of a girl that she's not very popular, and one day she throws her birthday party and it is ET themed. So that at the beginning I fell in love with it, because I thought at the beginning, oh, this is going to be like a spooky mystery thing similar to Ready Player One, because they were throwing all of those, you know, references to the 80s and things like that and all the pop culture stuff, and I thought it was gonna be amazing. And then things got a little bit weird. If you don't know the plot of this book, basically it's just some girlfriends that one day while they're in the woods, one of them springs into a lake and then disappears, and then when they find her again the next day, she doesn't seem like herself, and they start to think that she has been possessed. So I thought it was gonna be really cool, like a teenage spooky version of The Exorcist, and I was getting all of those 80s references, and I was like, this is gonna be awesome. But then I lost interest in the book. I don't know why, but it was already on the last part of the book, so I was like, now we might as well finish it. But that is the reason why I only gave it 3 coffee mugs. And the last one that got 3 coffee mugs is Sons of Destiny by Darren Shan, and this is a part of the Darren Shan Chronicles, and this is book number 12, so this is the last one in the series. Moving on to the books that got a 4 coffee mug rating, we have The Wicked Deep by Shi Earnshaw, and this book is everything that The Graces wasn't. This story was awesome. I love all the background, I love the characters, I love the way that they handled the plot. The only thing that bothered me with this book is that the parents seemed not to be around much, and like all of these things are going down and people are getting murdered, and none of the parents seem to really be bothered about it or do anything about it, and the mother of our main character doesn't know where she is half all the time because she's barely mentioned until the end. We're in a little town by the sea, and in 1822 3 sisters arrived to this town. They were very beautiful and they were selling perfumes and other things, and the people in town started to getting a little bit worried about them. The women started to get jealous because they were luring their men, and that's what they thought, and they ended up sending them to trial, accusing them of witchcraft. They were condemned to die, and they basically tied stones to their feet and let them drown in the sea. But the sisters had put a curse on the town because of what they did to them. Every year they would come back. They would take possession of a body of one of the young ladies of the town, and while in that body they will lure 3 men into the sea to drown them. This has been happening every year. The parents in the town, they don't seem bothered, they just accept this like it's normal. And this is how the book starts, and I have to say it's a really good book. It's one of those books that took me a little bit longer to go through, but it is very worth it. I really recommend this to you if you're looking for a nice witch book. Then I have 2 other books that got a 4 coffee mug rating, and that is Once a Witch and Always a Witch by Caroline McCullough. I got these ones out of Amazon because they were on sale, and I thought, you know, they are under 200 pages, they will be perfect for my Witch-A-Thon, plus it is a duology, so I can already finish the story. And so I grabbed them, and these are the first books that I read on the Witch-A-Thon, and I absolutely love them. Not only do we get to know about witches, but it also involves time travel, and you know, there is a beautiful background on their families, and you get to explore a lot of different things with the main character, and I absolutely loved it. In this book we follow Tamsin, and she comes from a family of witches, and everybody has a different power which is called a talent. However, she doesn't seem to have developed any, and she's a little bit worried about that. She feels a little bit like a failure. until a stranger goes into the bookshop where she was working, and she decides to help him find an object that he wants to locate, and she pretends to be her sister to help him allocate that object. So if you're looking for a witch book that also includes time travel and other talents, I would recommend you these books, Once a Witch, Always a Witch. And they are really easy to read, and you fly through them, and you are really invested with the story and the characters. And I love the background of the family, and I love the fact that each of them has a different talent. I think that makes the book also really interesting. The other two books that got a 4 MAC rating belong to the Darren Strong Chronicles, and that is Lake of Souls and Lord of the Shadows, and these are books 10 and 11 on the series. This series has a total of 12 books, and I've given the books a rating between 3 and 5 coffee mugs. In the first book, we follow Darren, and he's at school, and somebody's passing this pamphlet that is advertising this freak show. And he gets really interested, and he does everything he can to get a ticket to go to the freak show, and he ends up being able to go with his best friend, Steve. So while they're there, they experience all the freaks and all the supernatural, and they had a really good time. However, what Darren doesn't know is that that night is going to change his life. I don't want to tell you too much because I think it's one of the series that you just have to go into them and experience them yourself. But what I'm going to tell you is that for being a middle grade, the world building, it is magnificent. It's fantastic. The characters are amazing, and they're also different and peculiar, and it is great. I recommend it really to anybody that likes kind of spooky books. And the only book that in the month of October got a 5 MUG rating is How to Hang a Witch by Adriana Mather. And the coolest part of this book is that the author herself, she comes, you know, her roots are based on a family that was on the Salem trials. I got this book after I had already decided on my TBR for the Witch-A-Thon, but I saw it on Amazon, and I've always wanted it because I really love this cover as well, and I was like, I'm just gonna get it. And then I decided to pick it up and read it through the Witch-A-Thon, and it ended up being my favorite one. So we follow the story of Sam, and she's 15 years old, and sadly her dad had a heart attack and he's currently in a coma. So she's living with her stepmother, but they decide to move somewhere else where it's cheaper and where, you know, the father can also rest. And because her father had inherited her grandmother's house, they decide to move there. So Samantha moves there with the stepmother. And you know what happens, you're new in high school, the kids pick on you, and there's all of these different, you know, legends about Salem and witches and people that condemn the witches on the witch trials and things like that. So she's learning everything about her background, the background of other people from town, and it ends up being a kind of like an investigation, and it gets so interesting that this is definitely, from all the witch books that I have read in October, the best one. I just actually could not put it down, and the funny part is it says so here. It says I could not put it down. I could not put it down. Like, I was like, I needed to read it. You know those books that you start and you're just like dying to keep on reading because you need to finish it? This is one of them. Alright, so now I'm just quickly going to mention the TV series and movies that I have been watching that have to do with witches. So in October, I watched Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and that is the movie from 1996. And before the series started, it's very funny because Harvey and both aunts are different actors. So it's really funny to rewatch the movie because I just remember the series so much. However, it's a really funny watch, and you can never get tired of rewatching that. Then I watched, of course, Hocus Pocus from 1993 after reading the book. Then I watched Practical Magic because it had been way too long since I last watched it, and I enjoy it a lot. Then I found this middle grade kind of movie on Netflix. It's called A Witch's Ball, and I decided to watch it, but it's one of those typical TV movies that has not too much to it, but it's an interesting watch. Then I watched the latest season of Good Witch, which is also in Netflix. It is a series, I believe, from the Hallmark channel, so you know it's romance and cutesy and things like that. But the 4th season was released in October, so I decided to binge watch it. Then I watched the movie movie Casper because it had been also a long time since I last saw that movie, and it was on Netflix, so it was just convenient. This is not particularly about witches, but I thought I would mention it because it's one of those spooky classic movies, and it's so funny. I had forgotten the end, and things didn't go the way that I expected it because I have not watched it in so long. I forgot how the real end was. Then I rewatched The Witches from 1990, and it is such a fun movie. I have to say, you know, the makeup and the effects and everything, it was just so well done. And it's one of those spooky movies for children that it's actually kind of like disturbing, and you know, nothing to do with the movies they do nowadays for children. I think this needs to change. We need more movies like the 80s and 90s for kids because those were just more real. And of course, I watched The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina season 1. Oh my god, that was so good. I wanted it to be good and it was so good. I just put the first episode on Netflix, and this intro came with all of the comic art, and I was sold. I was sold and I loved it. I loved Salem. I loved him, and I loved everything about it. The stories, the characters, the actors were all so good, and it was so much fun to watch. And I'm hoping that for the next season they're going more gory and more blood, because I'm just dying for that. I have heard that they're going to make a Christmas special, like one episode. I believe it comes out on the 14th of December on Netflix. So I am like so excited that I'm getting one more episode, because I binge watched it in like 2 days, and then I was like, now I need to wait for the next season. Like, dang it, like it's always like that with Netflix. It's like really dangerous when you binge watch a series in like 2 days, because then you need to wait at least 1 year for the next season. Alright you guys, so this is everything that I read and watched during October month, which was my Witch-A-Thon. Let me know down below if you know any other movies, series or books about witches that are amazing and that I need to check out. Let me know as well what you thought about the books and the movies and TV series that I've mentioned. Thanks so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. All my other social media is listed for you guys down below, and I hope to see you all in the next coffee time. Bye!